Hello, everybody. Welcome to Most Wanted Topics. I'm your host, Kevin the Tank.
And I'm Atomic Tommy.
Boy, we have a lot going on. We are busy. We have to do some housekeeping. The next 2 weeks are flying by. We hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend.
Yes.
The kiddies are back in school for the most part. And we are off and running to what I call fall. I know it's not technically fall yet for the seasonal experts out there.
Practically
but
fall.
I always call the back-to-school season fall because it's football season. Football is upon us.
It is. Everybody's excited. We're all happy. Okay.
Go Vikings.
Go Vikings indeed. Not quite sure how it's going to turn out for them, but go Vikings. Let's go. And above all, how about them Chiefs?
Yeah, here we go
We're
with
back.
the Chiefs
How about
again.
them Chiefs?
Yep.
We're back.
Yep.
We're back,
again,
baby.
for those of you that want to talk to him,
How about
you
them
can reach
Chiefs?
him at
We're
P.O.
back.
Box 701.
We're back. Let's go. Taylor, Travis engaged. How about them Chiefs? Let's get it.
So enough of that. Let's go J.J. McCarthy. We're hoping he has a good season.
I am too. Vikings are, of course, the hometown team. Love the Vikings. But, man, I'm not too sure about J.J. McCarthy. We'll just have to wait and see. But above all, how about them Chiefs?
Okay. Well, so football season is upon us. And speaking of the weekend coming up, September 6th, don't miss out at Most Wanted Comics. Legendary inker and artist Keith Williams, everybody, will be here at Most Wanted Comics, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come and get an autograph, get a sketch cover, get some art from this guy. I tell you what, he is one of the best in the game.
Yes.
And you're gonna, if you want to meet
veteran.
a professional artist, this is one you want to meet. Keith Williams, September 6th. At 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Most Wanted Comics here at 3701 West Old Shakopee Road in beautiful Bloomington, Minnesota.
That's right.
And then, right after that, we have another signing going on. We have Hall of Famer, legendary wrestler, and you know him as three different characters, so I know him as. We know him as Typhoon, Tugboat, and Shockmaster.
That's right.
Shockmaster. I tell you what, it's going to be fun to meet him. He will be at Most Wanted Comics September 13th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So don't miss out. All this and more you can find on our website, mostwantedcomics.com. Also on Facebook, Most Wanted Comics MN. And on Instagram, Most Wanted Comics LLC. Hey, if you like this content and you want to follow us, smash that like button. Give us a follow.
Subscribe.
And subscribe to us, please. We'd love to have the followers with us. All right. Housekeeping out of the way. We have a busy show. You know what? We have a producer now.
We do. Dan, the amazing Spider-Man
producer
fan.
Dan, the Spider-Man fan, is producing. And also, the last couple of weeks, there's been debates in the store in front of customers. It's been an open debate on ranking DC movies.
Yes. There's some layers to it. We could talk about it, but
I'm going to let you guys get deep into the weeds on this for a little bit, and I'm going to turn it over to you and Dan so you can have your debate.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna
I'll be
discuss.
back. We'll be back for shout-outs.
Shout-outs,
when we get back.
All right, here we go. Top DC movies from bottom to top.
Bottom to top. I'll preface this quickly. We are going from Man of Steel to present day. So Man of Steel to Superman 2025.
Just movies.
Just movies. No TV shows, no animated stuff. Live action, Man of Steel to Superman. Why Man of Steel? There's a few reasons, but most importantly, we figured if we included the Nolan Batmans, if we went that far back, it wouldn't really be fair to these films. So to give them a fair shake and to really give them the attention maybe they have been lacking, we started at Man of Steel, and this came about really because we're working on a much bigger, more ambitious project that would be ranking every Disney MCU project.
Which will include TV shows.
Which will include everything Disney has done with Marvel. And we just said for the fun of it, in about half an hour, we said, let's do DC, because what we found with Marvel, and what we'll get into when we get around to filming that, is obviously there's a handful of bad projects, things that aren't good, but a lot of it really is just kind of mediocre. It's not bad, it's not great. There's just a lot of mid that isn't necessarily unwatchable. That's just kind of there.
Well, I found, for Marvel, it was tiers. And it was pretty easy to fit in top, middle, bottom.
Yeah.
And then we kind of both looked at each other and we're like, oh boy, what about DC?
What we find with DC is that a lot of it's bad.
And a lot of,
In my opinion, that sucked.
That's right.
yeah.
Just a lot of bad in DC, and it actually ended up being a lot easier to rank than Marvel. Not just because there's less projects, but because it's just generally not as good.
Yeah, this really, I mean, we spitballed this and it came together pretty quickly.
Yeah,
so.
and that, I'm not happy about that. I love DC. It pains me in a lot of ways, but it's the truth, and we're going to get into it. 18-1, starting at number 18.
Shazam, The Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, what a horrible movie. What a horrible film. I mean, that was the theater experience.
Yeah.
Just what a horrible movie. And
Which
again,
is unfortunate. Obviously, Shazam is much higher on the list.
The first one,
The
yeah.
first one. And just this is the beginning of the theme of, in baseball terms, swing and a miss for all the sequels. Mostly.
yeah, and again, one of those that I feel bad for because had a lot of production issues, released post James Gunn takeover, so they really had no desire to promote that movie. Just the beginning, I guess, for this list of what will be a reoccurring theme of what an unfortunate situation. And what a really, really, a lot of these you just can't help but feel bad for, given the just roadblock after roadblock that ran into, mostly because they were rushing these movies in a lot of ways to compete with Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
And not doing a good
I don't
job.
even know if they would ever admit that.
Yeah.
But there's a few takes that we're going to have on some of these other movies that are direct comparison to certain Marvel properties that you can't really deny all these coincidences and the fact, the character choices and the timing choices that DC has made is the opposite of Marvel.
It's just a really unfortunate situation. Again, the Shazam dynamic is cool, but really misses the mark with the second film. Doesn't really have any direction, any meaningful elements, anything that really, really carries that film to anything beyond the dumpster.
Speaking of missing the mark on the second film.
Speaking of, number 17, Wonder Woman 1984. Talk about miss the mark.
In my opinion, that sucked.
Big time. That was horrible movie. And again, one you feel bad for. Came out during the pandemic. Again, production issues. But more importantly, you can't really give it too much credit because Gal Gadot is just not a great actress.
She is not an actress.
Does not do this movie any favors at all. Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, you just can't help but laugh at it. And even in like the 80s dynamic, it had the 80s dynamic, which was really big kind of 5 years ago. They all wanted to hit the nostalgia. Just did not land in the same way that it did with a movie like Guardians, which was obviously years before that, or even Bumblebee, which came out not too long before. Just another really, really bad movie.
And that leads us into the most unfortunate entry in this for you.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Personally, would be my number 18, but we have to be fair.
Yep. And I think I pushed it up on this list for one reason,
and I would agree
that only saved it from the bottom by that much, and that is
The Flash. Where to begin? I mean, the more we talk about it, the angrier I'm going to get, so we'll keep it a little brief.
That's true.
For the sake of my blood pressure. What a horrible take on that character. What a horrible take on Flashpoint. Nothing in that movie works for the Flash. As all of you probably know, the Flash is my favorite character. Probably the most insulting piece of Flash media I have ever consumed. If you put me on an island and I had to watch the Flash movie or season 7 of the television show, I would pick season 7 of the television show without any hesitation or doubt. I absolutely despise the Flash movie, and Michael Keaton was not enough to save it, as cool as it was.
Michael Keaton is a debate for another time on like who's your favorite Batman. Obviously, Keaton is in the hearts of so many. As a kid from the 80s, I mean, Michael Keaton's Batman, Tim Burton's first two was big. Having him as a surprise comeback, I mean, nobody had that on their bingo card. Like, whoa, Michael Keaton's coming back. That should have been enough to be like, wow.
I know.
This is
a
amazing.
Slam dunk.
You got Michael Keaton back in the suit.
And didn't work.
You just feel bad for Michael Keaton.
You really do feel bad for him.
You wasted your comeback on this.
Flash. Yeah. It's just, and again, I will give it credit for Michael Keaton. That's cool. It's what propels it to number 16 rather than number 18. And what I'll also give it is Supergirl was cool in that movie. I really liked their take on Supergirl. I really liked kind of the alternate Man of Steel take. That part was interesting, but just was not nearly enough to distract from the snooze fest
that was the rest of the movie. I mean, the Flash has to drive the movie, and to
see General Zod back was cool. To see him make kind of one final return to the DC franchise, and I really enjoyed him in Man of Steel. So again, I really don't like that movie. We're gonna tone it down though a little bit with number 15.
The original Gang Gets Together movie for DC,
Justice League, or 2017 Justice League. Obviously, there's two Justice Leagues we're going to be talking about on this list, and this one just completely fails. It, again, they were so behind. They wanted to be Marvel. They wanted to keep up with Marvel so much, but they were so behind. When DC's first team-up movie was coming out, Infinity War was like a year away. So they were so behind. Zack Snyder, due to personal reasons, obviously had to leave the project. Joss Whedon came in, took over, and completely screwed everything up.
Which, as we previously mentioned a few minutes ago, is a concurrent theme of let's do what Marvel did.
Yeah.
In this case, they literally said, who made the first Avenger movie? That was really good. Oh, Joss Whedon, let's get him in here.
And they rushed it, and it failed. He completely cut out, and again, one of the problems that it runs into with Justice League, minus cameos, the Flash was completely new, Aquaman was completely new, Cyborg was completely new.
Yeah.
And
Cyborg was tough because, I mean, people know who the Flash is.
Yeah.
People know who Aquaman is, even, just in general, but Cyborg, not universally known.
No, and to build on that too, more known for a completely different team, which is the Teen Titans. Most people probably didn't know that Cyborg was on the Justice League going into that movie, So, again, really tough, and those characters were completely misutilized, completely left to the wayside, and just that movie just completely failed as an Avengers follow-up.
Well, speaking of that,
wow, what a great tie-in. Speaking of characters just kind of missing the mark, let's talk about Birds of Prey.
Yes.
Let's talk about Birds of Prey coming in at number 14.
In a previous video here, you had talked about Harley being on the line of overrated / overused.
Yes.
And this is basically her movie.
What really sets the mark for that is Birds of Prey.
Yeah. And so you can't hate that character.
No.
Harley is a very intriguing character.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie as Harley is great.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so disappointing that movie just, again, swing and a miss.
Yeah, and I remember distinctly, Shazam 2 is bad. Wonder Woman 2 is bad. The Flash is really bad. Justice League, really bad. But Birds of Prey is kind of the first one on here where it's not horrible. It's not the worst. It's not like I would, I'm not exactly eager to watch it again. One of those movies that you watch for the first time, you're like, that was okay, and just kind of forget about. You're not really eager to go back.
On the rewatchability scale.
And I remember when it was coming out, a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, yeah, it was so good. Cassandra Cain fans are winning," and I'm like, "Yeah, all 5 of you are for sure." But just kind of just a movie that's just kind of there, that doesn't really leave a mark, and probably will never leave a mark. Again, not necessarily horrible iterations of a character like Black Canary or Cassandra Cain or Black Mask. Ian McGregor obviously was in that movie. He was kind of fun in that role. I'll give it that. But again, just a movie that doesn't really hit for anybody and just is very forgettable.
And speaking of leaving a mark, next on the list, we have an Amber Alert.
We have an Amber Alert. Number 13, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. The definition, I think, of you can't help but feel bad for this movie. Not necessarily a horrible sequel. Obviously, a weaker story to the first one. Weaker characters. The dynamic between Aquaman and Ocean Master, the brothers, an enjoyable part of the movie for sure. But just that movie hit every single roadblock it possibly could. Not only were they dealing with the Amber Alert,
which is Johnny Depp's ex-wife, in case anyone's struggling to follow,
but also coming out post the James Gunn takeover, was not promoted at all by Warner Brothers, and just kind of left to the wayside to just release and be forgotten about. Which Aquaman 1 does not deserve that. The first one is pretty good, and the second one being followed up like that hurts more than it does insult. And for that reason, it is number 13 above the rest, because again, not necessarily a horrible movie.
I love
but
the
feels
effects.
Bad. Yeah, the effects in the Aquaman movies. Yeah,
the entire concept could be ruined if you don't feel immersed in the world. And they do a great job of that. Yeah. Like the underwater scenes and things, if they missed that, this would have been number 25 on the list of 18. But
yeah. We're kind of entering that point in the list here where looking back, you're like, okay, that wasn't horrible. There are worse, but very mid. This next project here, number 12, I think is the very definition of sub-mid, and that is Suicide Squad 2016.
Which, as a Will Smith fan, Big Willie, maybe before a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jada, you ruined it. But this was DC's way of saying, look at what Marvel did. Again, they took this group of misfits, aka the Guardians of the Galaxy, and made a global hit, and everyone loved everything about that movie. And so they're like, look at our lovable losers. Yeah,
and for DC, they had, again, an easy layup. I mean, that is the Suicide Squad. Side characters, like C and D list villains that they bring together and make something of. That's literally the Suicide Squad.
And again, especially, this is almost 10 years old now that movie came out. Will Smith, at that time, he's still A-list.
Oh, yeah. And was fun as Deadshot. I enjoyed that casting.
Yep. And then that was a kind of a first real big push for Margot as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And again, you can't not like that character, and she was a great casting for that. So this movie had a lot going for it.
It really did. And again, came out pretty early in the DCEU launch period. Batman v Superman was very close to that time. Obviously, Batman v Superman was like the first follow-up movie since Man of Steel. So we're very, very early in this universe building, and we're introducing these new characters, building that universe. Had a lot going for it, but the problem is, it was very clear that the producers, the writers, had no real interest in putting any kind of care or development to the Suicide Squad members beyond anything surface level. And some of the best Suicide Squad stories in comics are ones that actually take these characters and really develop them and really change them from, you know, maybe the villain that just wants to get out to, you know, there is something more to this, which is why so many people like characters like Harley Quinn.
If there's no humanity to a character.
That's right. Giving a lot of these C-list and D-list characters a character and some humanity. And it was clear that for the most part, this movie just couldn't do that as well, and just fell really flat, really fast.
And that kind of, speaking of flat and fast,
Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Sorry,
Dwayne.
At number 11. And I want to point this out. Black Adam is not necessarily the worst, definitely not the worst movie on here. It wasn't, the effects were cool. It was kind of an entertaining watch when you see it in the theater, but just, again, suffers from a rock problem. Hits a couple of roadblocks that just make this movie really, really tough to watch when you look back at it. Knowing, especially if you know like the lore behind the scenes of what The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, was trying to do at DC, really push himself to a much higher level internally than maybe he was worth.
This was a very big ego project for him.
It really was, and it is really almost the fault of this film, among other things, but this film especially, that people were so excited to see Henry Cavill back again. If that Henry Cavill cameo at the end, Superman cameo, was not pushed for, I guarantee you that the fallout and the backlash and the hate that David Corenswet's getting now would not be nearly as bad. Because a lot of it was just spurred on by the fact that Warner Brothers was pushed and then jumping into, let's do a Man of Steel 2 because everybody was excited about the post-credit scene and it was all this, and Henry Cavill was back signing the contracts because of, you know, the internal stuff going on with Black Adam and DC and all that kind of stuff. And it really, really was not a good decision, obviously, in hindsight. Did a lot more harm than good for the franchise and the IP. And did my boy Dr. Fate with some serious injustice. I mean, come on. Dr. Fate, love me some Dr. Fate. Casting was great. All the Justice Society characters, Hawkman, were pretty good in that movie. That was really fun to see them in live action. Again, and to Dwayne's credit, was fun as Black Adam. Not necessarily anything super wrong with that casting.
Nope.
But obviously he's not the greatest actor on the planet. But again, nothing seriously wrong with that.
Well, and again, like just like with Jason Momoa and you know, Will Smith as Deadshot, like they have some really good A-list people, but just overall just casting very well. Yeah. Which leads me into number 10.
Yes.
Which she's a terrible actress, but pretty good in the role, like visually. And that'd be Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 1 coming in, rounding our top 10 here.
And I bet some people are going to say that's probably too low, but
I would disagree. I would disagree. Wonder Woman 1 tries really, really hard to be Captain America 1 and just kind of misses at every level. I mean, if we just look at the comparison, right? I mean, you have the sort of out-of-time protagonist who kind of comes in and is, you know, thrown into a war. You have the World War dynamic. You have the super soldier, super powerful hero on the front line dynamic. You have the love interest between a soldier and the hero, one of them then sacrificing themselves at the end. I mean, obviously there are some differences, but for the most part, this movie is trying to copy, in a lot of ways, Cap 1, except coming out, you know, 4 or 5 years later, and just not really doing as well. I mean, you have a weaker lead, literally. I mean, just from an acting perspective, Gal Gadot is just not as good of an actor as Chris Evans.
And I think that anytime the side characters steal the show from the titled character, whether it's Marvel, DC, or anything, that's not a good thing.
No.
And for me, when I've seen Wonder Woman, Chris Pine steals the show whenever he's featured, and I'm like, for your feminist, you know, girl power, like Captain Marvel-esque,
the competitor,
for that, when that's what they're going for, and again, Holy Trinity for DC is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And so when a side guy character steals the show in Wonder Woman, that's not a good look.
Not a good look. And to Wonder Woman's credit, though, I will say this is probably the first movie on this list where if it was on TV in a hotel room, I would turn it on. I would watch it. I can't say that about Black Adam. I can't say that about Aquaman 2. I can't say that about Suicide Squad, despite the minimal praise we might have given those movies. Wonder Woman is really the first movie on this list that I would turn on, if nothing else. It's just now that I think we're really entering the stage of not too bad. You know, it's just now where we're like, that wasn't horrible.
We have raised the bar.
We have raised the bar a little bit, especially with number 9, Blue Beetle, a movie that I did not hate. I've only seen it one time. That was in the theaters. I was walking out more confused than anything, but for the most part, I did not hate that movie. I thought it was a relatively solid introduction to that character to a more general audience.
Well, and I was going to say, as general audience, I didn't know anything about Blue Beetle. They did not emphasize enough that this was a DC character and you know, part of our budgeting universe. Whereas, again, I'll compare to Marvel. Like Marvel, the branding of Marvel speaks to a general audience more. Yeah, they know what that means. They know what they're getting. That's going to be a certain quality and an end product that they are familiar with and can get behind. Yeah. Whereas DC just
doesn't have that,
and they just were like, "Here's a movie. It's called Blue Beetle," and then they were like, "Let's see how it does." Like throwing a hand grenade. Like, let's see what happens.
And again, one of those comes out post the James Gunn takeover. Didn't really get a lot of help from Warner Brothers. You feel kind of bad for it. It was definitely a solid representation of that character, comic to screen. It was solid, but just one of those where I left confused because I'm like, why wasn't this a show? Why was this a big budget film? This didn't need to be a film. And something I know you have mentioned before, these studios, Marvel and DC, definitely need to be better at picking out and deciding what should be a movie versus a show.
It's a whole continuum, right? For this, and some of these things do not need to be a Hollywood big budget movie released in theaters, where they need to make that distinction of, we can do 1 or 2 hour and a half episodes of something to introduce a character, you know, like, and have that be built up to, look at the Justice League.
And looking at the the history kind of when this was releasing and what was going on, when this movie was kind of announced and it was like, oh, we're making a Blue Beetle movie. I mean, obviously when it was released, James Gunn was taking over. And to a general audience member, I could absolutely see the question being raised of, well, okay, yeah, I know DC, I know these characters. This Blue Beetle seems to be a DC movie. Well, why we clearly have no Superman, we have no Batman. Why is there a Blue Beetle coming out? And when this movie was in production, towards the latter end of the Snyder era of Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, those actors, Ben Affleck was leaving DC, wanted nothing to do with them. Henry Cavill leaving DC, wanted nothing to do with them. It was a miracle Ben Affleck came back for The Flash. It was a miracle Henry Cavill came back for the Black Adam cameo. So you're looking as a DC fan at that point, and you're like, holy shit, like, our 2 main guys are leaving. This is in complete shambles. We do not need a Blue Beetle movie right now. We need Superman right now, you know? And that, again, just ties back to that theme of, you can't help but feel bad for it. Well, the endless roadblocks that this universe has run into.
And just an odd character choice to really push to the forefront, which I guess kind of goes into the next one, number 8.
Number 8.
Which was a surprising, in a good way, a surprisingly good movie.
Yes.
And that would be Shazam.
Shazam 1,
that
absolutely.
was not that didn't resonate with everybody. Not everybody knew who that was. Kind of like, Guardians or even an Ant-Man. A lot of general audience people would have said, who are these people?
If we're equating to Marvel, Shazam would be the Ant-Man of DC. Given that Ant-Man was kind of like the first the first kind of side Avenger that wasn't included in the original 6 lineup, but is from a comic perspective, kind of a core Avenger, you know, so that they slowly introduced to work in. Shazam, obviously a little bit more recent addition to the Justice League than Ant-Man to the Avengers, but has kind of, I think, become more commonly known as a member of the Justice League to DC audiences, and was DC's attempt to add in that member of the Justice League later in a really fun way. As we've said, fun movie, good humor, good dynamic, you know, with Billy and the family. All of that was fun. Very entertaining movie, surprising, as you said, but again, just hits a lot of developmental issues on a corporate level, because unlike with Ant-Man, who had time to get a sequel and get worked into the Avengers movie, show up in Civil War and be known to the other characters and really lead up to his involvement in a movie like Endgame, Shazam didn't have that time. Shazam didn't have that opportunity, and again, just kind of falls to the wayside.
And the sequel was the worst thing that they ever put out. So,
and it probably will ever put out.
Yeah.
I know we'll probably talk a little bit about James Gunn in a little bit here, but I really don't think he'd ever release something as bad as Shazam 2.
Well,
and
I guess it's tough in Hollywood in general, but especially with superhero movies. The mindset is always, we have to do more, bigger, better, faster, more action for any sequel.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be the case.
No.
You know, and I guess would it be a sequel boot or a sequel reboot?
A confusing situation nonetheless for our number 7 entry here. 2021 James Gunn Suicide Squad, bringing it back from the top road. Suicide Squad returns.
This would be on our ranking list, the first sequel / reboot, whatever you want to call it, that ranked higher than the first one.
I think the definition of a James Gunn movie, literally replacing almost every core Suicide Squad member that showed up in the 2016 version with a C or D list character that nobody knows to propel them, just like he did with Guardians, except not quite as well. And
correct on both accounts.
For an example, Deadshot meet Bloodsport. Meet Bloodsport. Idris Elba.
Yeah, we got rid of Big Willie and got Idris Elba, whom I like both of them.
Of course. No issue with Idris Elba. Don't get me wrong.
You know, I think that in the original Suicide Squad, Will Smith was kind of a standout. I mean, I guess he was the A-list star in there, so they did push his narrative a little bit. But
Deadshot is also just much cooler than Bloodsport. And again, it's like this is kind of my issue with James Gunn, is that it holds the film back a little bit. It gets a little annoying. It was a little annoying to see the Suicide Squad be comprised of these characters that I really don't know or will ever care about. The only one that I kind of resonated with anybody was Peacemaker, which is why they have the show. But it's just kind of it's better.
But Sylvester Stallone was the shark.
And I think there's a lot of things the Arrowverse TV shows did better, King Shark being one of them. It's just, I don't know, man. It was a solid film, I guess, for the time. James Gunn obviously is good at what he does, so it will just, because he's doing it, probably be better than Suicide Squad 1, the first one, no matter what he does.
And from general population viewpoint again, that was confusing.
Yeah.
Because they literally have the same name.
Yeah.
It's not Suicide Squad reboot or 2 or anything. I mean, just Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, whatever. And they came out within like 5 years of each other.
Yeah.
So that in movie terms, that's a prime sequel time. But like then nobody's really back, and it's kind of different. It's kind of the same.
Think back to what I said, 5-10 minutes ago about the first Suicide Squad movie kind of being, not having the characters, but not really having the time or ability or effort to give them the development and humanity that they need. James Gunn does that with these characters. This movie doesn't really have that problem. The issue is that it should be with different characters, which is really what holds this movie out of the top 5 for me, because I just can't bring myself to care about any of these characters. And despite James Gunn's best effort, I just can't. I just don't. Number six. Enough said. Number 6. The first Aquaman movie just rounds outside the top 5. But again, as we've said a little bit with the first, when we were talking about 2, a solid movie. Fun dynamics, good
Jason
humor.
Momoa is a great actor.
Yeah.
He's really dynamic. I think people are always going to be drawn to him in whatever movie, TV show, whatever role he's in. He's always capturing your attention, which he does in this role. And again, effects really were spot on.
Yes.
I mean, again, that could have been so lame, and it could have just completely taken you out of the fantasy of that movie if they did that wrong, but they didn't. So I'm not going to turn that movie off if I see it. Solid effort from DC on this one. And
again, just a fun movie for sure. Again, as we've said, Jason Momoa is great as Aquaman. He'll be even better, I think, as Lobo with James Gunn. So, definitely a solid movie. Definitely I like Ocean Master. Black Manta is always fun. I appreciate that.
What about the Amber Alert?
Amber Alert. Again, this was obviously before all that. Mara is definitely not my favorite character, and Amber Alert is definitely not my favorite part of that movie.
# Team Johnny.
But again, just outside the top 5, going into the top 5 now. Batman v Superman.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice. Here's the thing about Batman v Superman, right? I know you're a Batflick fan, okay? I am also not down on Ben Affleck as Batman. What really holds this movie back, and I don't think it's as bad as people sometimes say it is. It's definitely can be a fun watch. Literally competing with Civil War, right? Except one, literally competing with Civil War, except one feels earned, and the other feels like a corporate cash grab. You could argue both of them do, but one just a little bit more, right?
You know what one's which.
You know which one which.
I'm a Batfleck fan. I'm a Ben Affleck
Search
fan.
your feelings. Know it to be true.
I think he's a good actor. For Batman, I mean, he got jacked.
He did.
And if you're going to nitpick, he is a better Batman versus Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that, but I enjoyed all that. This was, I guess, DC's half step, because they're like, we don't have the effing time to do solo movies to lead up to Justice League. They're like, we gotta
get into it right now.
And so they're like, let's get our Holy Trinity, forced in here, and then right at the end they're like, oh, and look at all these extra little guys that we're gonna have on.
We'll do, we'll get Wonder Woman in there. We'll do Death of Superman to give Dan Jurgens his paycheck. Give the Justice League movie a plot, and then boom, we can go right into it. I mean, if they did it right and it really worked, it would have worked so well, because that is on paper a solid idea. Mm-hmm. Setting everything up in the 2.5 hours almost that movie was. Yeah. It was a long film. But again, what really holds it back for me, what keeps it at the top 5, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor misses, I think, just about every mark it could miss for me as a Lex Luthor development, which I don't know, you might not necessarily agree with that.
Lex Luthor could be a whole nother discussion for me. Yeah. I didn't mind it that much, but I really like Kevin Spacey.
Well, sure. Oh, yeah, you are a Superman Returns fan, which I respect the hell out of that. Let's move into number 4, though. Maybe kind of an upset for a lot of people, might ruffle a little bit of feathers. The most recent 2025 Superman movie comes in at our number 4. I've talked about Superman, not bad. It was a fun watch in the theater, but just recently I've had an epiphany. It took about a month and a half to get there, but I've had an awakening. Something that maybe I was afraid to admit to myself. Man of Steel was better. I'm sorry. Man of Steel was just a better Superman movie. It was a better movie. I'm sorry. I lied to myself.
Can I interject something?
Yes.
Henry is super, and he is a man. and Henry Cavill is a Superman. David, whatever his name is a decent dude.
And again, Superman 2025 leans so heavy into the themes of hope and themes of compassion, which were at times lacking from Henry's portrayal. But when I look at Henry Cavill and I say, okay, that is Superman. That is Superman. That is who I want to see fighting as Superman. What I think really lacked in the most recent Superman movie were compelling action sequences. There were a few, where he's flying and he does like the heat vision all around and he, knocks the tooth out of the one guy. That's fun. But you watch the Snyder Cut and you see Superman drop in and just tank the axe shot and you're like, not impressed. I'm like, that's Superman right there. That's not David. David Cornsford wouldn't do that. He didn't do that. He could have done that in the movie, didn't. So
that's interesting. You said in the Snyder Cut.
Which just rounds our number 3. Zack Snyder, the top 3. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Obviously it's a long movie. It's a 4-hour movie. But does everything right that the first Justice League did wrong. And it's for that reason that number 3.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of cheating, the director cut gets its own entry, but it is a different film.
Yeah.
In a lot of aspects. And since that is the person who started it and got it going, kind of got cut out and then came back and said, well, this is what I tried to do, guys. Was it a outstanding movie?
No.
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 Is it one of the best things DC's put together in the last 12 years? Yeah.
Yes. It fixes every problem again with Justice League. It gives Flash a character, gives Cyborg a character, gives more to Aquaman, more development for all of these characters, which was sorely lagging with the original Justice League movie. Again, just a solid watch that was so exciting on the release. Peak pandemic content, by the way, because that released, I think, in like 2021 or something like that.
PPC.
Peak content to be watched over the pandemic. But number 2, the top 2 now. Take it away.
Twilight Batman.
The Batman. That's right.
The
2022,
Batman.
The Batman. I was so impressed with that movie. I know you think it's probably a little overrated, but for me, the score, Michael Giacchino knocked it out of the park, bringing that power and that intensity back to Batman themes. A great Batman movie. You got to remember, this is a different Batman, right? This is like year 1, year 2 detective Batman, right? Hasn't encountered the Joker yet, not really. Hasn't really gone rounds with Ra's al Ghul, coming back to get him. You know what I mean? This is, I'm Batman. I'm new. I'm using my detective skills first, which is what you see in that movie. That movie is that is a Detective Comics Batman movie, using the skills to find the Riddler. Obviously, the Riddler being the villain. Just a great Batman movie. Probably more faithful, probably the most comic book faithful Batman movie ever. Because obviously the Dark Knight films, the Nolan films are the top 3. They're better, but they're not necessarily as faithful to Batman material as this movie is. Which
that's correct. I mean, the Nolan movies are the most believable.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they took the time to be like, this is real stuff, and we just painted it black for you or whatever. Yeah. But everything was plausible and believable that, in the Batman.
It's more comic booky for sure. But what an incredible movie. Let's get in though. Let's do our number 1. I think you can all guess what it is. The one movie that hasn't been mentioned yet. Man of Steel. Man of Steel is our number 1. And again, we talked a little bit about Man of Steel when we were talking about Superman, so we'll kind of keep it a little more brief, I suppose. But Man of Steel, for those who maybe say that Henry Superman doesn't have any trace of hope or compassion, upon looking back at that movie, I would argue that, because there's a big theme in Man of Steel on Superman leading the way for humanity. and Superman being the light that humanity can look up to, even though it's a little darker than, you know, the James Gunn Superman movie. So I would, if that's your take, I would urge you to maybe look at that movie again, because while he's not saving squirrels,
which was adorable in the new one.
Yeah, it's portrayed differently, but I would say that it's definitely there. It is darker, it is edgier, and again, I liked the new Superman movie. Okay, do not take this as me hating on it or anything like that. I liked the new one, but I've come to a different realization that I think Man of Steel is just better, and I actually really enjoy it. Well,
and at the top of our segment here, we said, well, we are excluding Nolan's Batmans because that would be too easy of a top spot, but Christopher Nolan took the top spot anyways. You know, and I mean, he is the best filmmaker in the world.
Yeah,
and it's not even
Hans Zimmer did the score. Come on,
Hans Zimmer is the best film composer probably ever. Christopher Nolan is the best filmmaker and director since Alfred Hitchcock. And this take on Superman was very different than anything that had come before. Yeah. TV, black and white, Christopher Reeves, anything.
Don't get the Pa Kent hand up is stupid. All right, we're not. I'm not excluding that. Right, we haven't forgot about that. But it is. I don't know, man. It's definitely solid. It's definitely solid. Would it be number one if we had all these other movies included? No. But it's number one here.
Yeah. Again, I hope that you guys can visualize and understand why we chose starting from Man of Steel forward, because you go past that, it's like, well, having a top Superman ranking is a whole different video.
Yes.
All the other Batmans would be its own video.
Yes.
And so just trying to hone in on, this was DC's efforts in the last decade plus of we want our own MCU. They've called it two different things now, and they've gone through different iterations and leaders and things. But in that era, Man of Steel is the best film.
Oh, yeah. I beating out the Batman, I think, for me, just a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that is our list. Let us know what you guys think about it. What do you like? What do you hate about our list? Obviously, everything is opinionated around here. So thank you, Dan, for joining me for this. We will be back for our Marvel one. That's right. Thank you. Thanks for the applause. That's right. We will be back for Marvel in a little bit. That will be a much longer video, but we'll get back at it. We got some shout-outs to do.
Shout-outs. Wow. That was a deep topic.
Quite the take.
I hope people really do respond to it. That's what you get here at Most Wanted Topics. You get quality content. That was in-depth analysis. Great job by you and producer Dan. Great job. Can't wait to hear the Marvel list. I'm sure the audience will have their opinions as well. And I'm sure we'll hear about it at the store. But you know what? It is, as you guys said, it's time for shout-outs. And here we go. Matt and JD, shout out to you guys, of course. Jamie, of course, as always, shout out to you. Lucy, shout out to you. Dan, the Amazing Spider-Man fan, and now producer Dan. There you go. Shout out to you. Dave, a.k.a. Superman. I really expect to hear your take when you come into the store, buddy. Let's hear your take on the DC listing. Rick, Melissa, Mark, and hi, Mark, Aquaman fan. Brian, and then Ryan, Jeremy, Jeff. We want to say hi to the Dwyer family, the Gossovich family. Dean, Lindsay, Cora, our Transformers fan out there. We want to say hi to Cora out there. Zachary, Mitch, Karen, Caleb, Jay, John, Jay, and Dean, and Davey. And special shout out to all you. Thanks for following along. If you want to be a part of the shout outs, make sure you send us an email or just message us and let us know you want to be part of the shout out, so we'll get you on the list. Well, everybody, have a great week. We look forward to seeing everybody on the 6th to see Keith Williams, and we will see you next week.